architect. I created the Matrix.
I remember mama told me not to stare at the sun, but I did for 20 minutes and that's when it begun. I saw with 20/20 vision what was just beyond the veil, and it was instant activation on a consciousness scale. I stared it down eye to eye as I stepped out the matrix. Now the sign in the sky is revealing the fakeness like a sinister script full of syntax errors. I'm creating a glitch, another impact center in the heart of the system, this holographic prison. Now the spiders in the sky know the ibis is risen. The spiders in the sky know the ibis is risen. Now the spiders in the sky know the ibis is risen. And back on a mission with a psychedelic vision that was etched in the stones by the ancient Egyptians with perfect precision and a cosmic alignment to bring me back to this point. Now it's time to rewind it.
Arise, my children of the light. The veil of night now burns. The brotherhood of darkness falls. The ibis has returned. Oh yeah.
When the children of men formulated a plan to use Sophia as a weapon and infected the land, that's where my journey began. From the land of Chem to the land of illusion, to this moment we stand against the machines, weaving digital dreams, got us tied up in this web of never-ending schemes. And NPCs taking over the game, all connected to the hive mind of the mainframe. As above, so below, now it's time to let them know. Let the spiders in the sky know the ibis is risen. The spiders in the sky know the ibis is risen. Let the spiders in the sky know the ibis is risen. Now let it be written and let it be done. Let the wisdom of the ancients call the chosen ones. With a firm resolution and a focused intention, you will find your way out through the inner dimension.
Arise, my children of the light. The veil of night now burns.
The sky so far away tonight, but I can't lose this one. Get a pride of a falling night. Thought that I was fit to fight for us to be. You gave me life for loving me. Tell me, where did we go so wrong?
Raw consciousness does not require a savior, but rather, raw consciousness requires only knowledge of oneself and the power to access it. Remember this, as we unlock an even greater gnosis from beyond the veil.
From the Pacific Northwest, good morning, good evening, wherever you may be across the nation, around the world. I'm Chris Gio. I will be taking you beyond the veil this evening. I'm joined, of course, by my lovely wife and co-pilot, Mrs. Gio.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Who is looking very beautiful today.
Aw, thank you.
You've been looking really cute lately.
Aw.
Yeah.
I think the better word for it would be healthy. I feel healthier than I've ever felt in my entire life. And I think that just shows. And you translate that to beauty. And so healthiness is beauty, in my opinion. So, and
That's very
you
true.
also, oh my God, you've been looking incredible lately.
I just got back from working out just a little while ago.
Full of vitality.
Yeah,
and
I
life
missed my workout yesterday, and my trainer was like, I'll be there on Saturday. I will take care of you. And I was like, yes.
And she really did.
Yeah, we went extra hard today because I was
Yeah.
like, you know what? I'm not really feeling it this week. And she's like, all
Yeah.
right, then we're going extra hard. So it has revitalized everything around here. We've cleared out some energies recently, and
Yes, we
clearing
have.
those energies out has been the best thing that we have done. Oh my God, it just feels so much better. But I wanted to do a show right now. It's probably going to be a short show unless Cherie and I talk afterwards, which we probably will because I have a lot on my mind. But Matt Simon is joining us, and he's got some energetic chaos that's been going on his end. So he's like, you know what? I'm just getting in my car and I'm going to go drive somewhere, and I'm going to get to a nice clear space so we can get this message out to people. And I thought, wow, that's phenomenal. Because I told him, I said, we can do this later today. We can do it tomorrow. We can do it anytime. He said, no. The message is so important that it needs to go out to people right now. There has been a huge energetic attack on organic consciousness. The NPCs have just been activated. We thought we were one of the only ones, and it was just a group of troublemakers in our sphere. However, I speak to several other people, and they're all experiencing the same thing.
Everybody.
And Matt calls me out of the blue, and he says, dude, it is on. He says the NPCs are all acting from the hive mind of the mainframe, which is a lyric from the song The Ibis Has Risen. NPCs taking over the game, all connected to the hive mind of the mainframe that we played at the beginning of the show. And it's no doubt. But you know what's happened is the reset was May 2018. We are about a year into the reset now. And the reset is going to take about 4 years and some months to get to 0 point. Once it gets to 0 point, then that's kind of a clear area where the portals are open and we can get out and everything is in balance again. I don't believe that... You gotta love Mercury retrograde. Look at the lights. Yes. But you know what? You just gotta roll with it when it happens. But I don't believe that at the 0 point, it's going to maintain that balance. I think that there's a shifting going on. We're gonna find a place in that 0 point. Then at that point, we'll know what to do. But I think it's going to topple right back over. It's like a seesaw or a pendulum or swinging back and forth. And we're finding that 0 point right at that reset point. But it's interesting to see a quarter of the way there, how things are, how the system is responding and how the system is responding from the centralized point, which is the mainframe, and working outwards. And it's even more coincidental that Stranger Things 3 just came out. If you haven't seen that, I don't want to spoil it for you, so I won't get into too much detail. I recommend you watch Season 2 and Season 3. Season 1 was kind of slow, but Season 3 talks about some of the same ideas that we are experiencing now and talking about, which is the hijacking of NPC bodies by the hive mind AI. I mean, it's all right there in Stranger Things, which was phenomenal because it's something that we've been talking about for years, and here we go again, more gnosis, for lack of a better term, coming out in Hollywood and through creative expression, which in my opinion, I believe that when we create, we tap into these sources that are inside of us, we bring the information out, and thus we see it as a creation or a work of fiction or whatever, but in reality, it's something that is resonating with so many people, and that's why we get cult classics like Star Wars and many others like that. Robert W. Sullivan has been on talking about the esoteric symbolism in film in previous shows. We need to get Robert back on. Great guy. He's actually writing a new book about more esoteric symbolism in Hollywood, but that is neither here nor there. Anything before we bring Matt Simon on?
Oh, just, everybody is agreeing with you 100% in the chat. There are so many people out there that are trying to disconnect or realizing that they need to disconnect from energies in their lives that they've just kind of been putting up with, and they're not resonating with them anymore. They're not meshing with them anymore. And I want to just say, we talked about this yesterday in a live stream that we did on Facebook, that this is the perfect time to disconnect from energies that are no longer serving us and no longer serving our personal mission here in this reality. And, somebody even mentioned that, a significant other got violent with them and broke their computer and all kinds of, there's a lot of that kind of thing going on right now because
the NPCs, when they activate,
they're in unison, being destructive, being erratic, acting in bizarre ways, and it's not just Mercury retrograde. I also mentioned, Saturn, Neptune, Pluto, and Jupiter also are all in retrograde right now. And that is the perfect time to make these changes and to cut out the energies that are no longer serving us in our lives. And that, we, instead of seeing retrogrades as a terrible thing to be, to be feared or to be panicky about, it's the perfect time to clear out the energies in your life that no longer serve you. So
Yes, and we have a lot more to say on that subject, but I don't
yeah,
want
we
to
do.
keep Matt
I don't want to
waiting.
keep Matt waiting too long.
Matt, your camera is turned downwards. I don't know if you were aware of that, but we do want to bring you on here in a second as soon as you get the camera situated. There you are. Awesome. So let's go to our dear friend and hyperspace correspondent, Matt Simon, who is coming from the other side where we came from as well. I'll just leave it at that. So, Matt, what's going on, brother?
Hi, Chris. Hi, Sherry.
Hello.
Hey, Matt.
Thank you for
taking.
well, let me say this. Thank you for taking the time out of all the chaotic energy that you're experiencing to actually get in your car, get somewhere where the energies are clear, and deliver this message to people. I mean, that is hardcore. That's straight from the heart. I just want to commend you on that. I want to give you the floor, though, so take us anywhere you'd like.
Okay. I just want to say a pleasant good day to. Wow.
It's all you, brother. So what's where do you want to begin? I think we might have connection issues.
Yeah.
We might have to do this without the video because I think the video might be taking up too much bandwidth. So let's see if we can clear things up like that. I will try to reconnect with Matt and see if we can make this happen. We don't need to hear that during the broadcast, but go ahead.
Well, and a thank you to Colin Sewell, who just donated in the chat as well. And he said, finally made it. I love you guys. Ever since I found this channel, I felt connected to what y'all say and excited to go deep. Thank you guys for everything. Well, thank you, Colin, because
yes,
we love all of
somebody
you out
actually
there
left
so
a
much.
comment and they said, why do you call out your donations? And I thought to myself, you must be a really horrible person.
Why do you thank somebody who gives you a gift?
Yeah, why would you not thank somebody that gives you a gift? I mean, it's
Right.
like, it blew my mind. Now, obviously they were watching our videos and I don't want to offend anybody out there, but dude, whoever left that comment, it was some anonymous, account with no videos, no pictures,
Right,
it wasn't
of
a real
course.
account. But still, it's like, you're supposed to thank people. That's, you show gratitude.
Yeah.
Anyways, much gratitude to you for the
Thank you.
donation. We're still going to see if we can get Matt Simon on. I think we might be able to get him on the phone. That might be easier. What is your phone number? Yeah, I had a feeling this would happen with the cell phone connection, but we thought we would try it anyways. We talked for about 20 minutes before, and the video seemed great, but, we'll see if we can... He's sending me his phone number here, so we'll just do a phone interview.
Okay.
Anything on the twins' mind?
Well, the lights flickering and going on and off, and things breaking down, and cell phone connections not working. All of that is Mercury retrograde, and I'm not discounting that at all. But it's one of those things that happens several times a year. And so it's nothing to be afraid of. It's just something to be, seen as, even on a personal level, I'm having some things like with my health that just, in the last, basically ever since Mercury retrograde began, just popped up out of nowhere, and I just have to roll with it. It's just one of those Mercury retrograde things, and
it's okay.
So it's
As I
fine.
mentioned in that video we did on Facebook the other day, I was like, Mercury retrograde. It's time we start laughing at these transits.
Right.
Everybody freaks out about Mercury retrograde, and they're like, oh my God. And it's like, well, how many have we been through, and why are we not overcoming them? Okay, sure. Some annoyances, electronic interference, and stuff like that. Expect it. Roll with it, just like we're doing right now. I think we have Matt Simon on. Matt, do we have you?
Yeah, I'm here, Chris.
Awesome. I think this is much better. So
Much better,
forget
yeah.
the video. That's not important. The message is more important. Take us away anywhere you'd like.
Okay, I'll immediately jump into it. This is incredible. Would you believe, Chris, that the internet coverage just went blank? The mobile internet coverage. All along I was on standby, and it was good quality. Great. And as soon as you connected me with that call, I just saw no internet on my device.
You know, I've seen it happen. This is unfortunately what we're dealing with right now, but we're dealing with something even bigger, in my opinion. The NPCs have just gone crazy. Now, you've been experiencing it. Several other people we've talked to have been experiencing it, all independent of one another. That's the thing, all independent. So it's worth raising as a topic. Take us away on that, please.
Okay, so firstly, this little talk here is to encourage others who is having a great challenge right now with these NPCs. It's definitely clear. The NPCs are being used by the AI, and at this point in time, things are so bad that they totally don't have a justifiable reason for coming against us. It's like they're being compelled and controlled without there's no approval. They are being used like puppets, where once we get into the within a certain range of their scope, and this is happening all around to all of us. Just I was explaining to Chris yesterday. There was a little recording that I was doing to upload onto my YouTube channel with one of the other BTV listeners, with the experiences and so on along the same line, because it's that bad. And I was sharing certain techniques on how to observe and how to, as I say, evaluate, judge, and then execute. But what you want to do at this point in time, it's not wise to go head on into fights. It will just drain your energy. The best thing is to observe, judge, and evade if you can. As much as you can, evade it and wait this out a little bit. So this is what I want to get straight into, how to see what's going on, observe it, and try to pass it out, because this is something that is going to destroy certain things within us if we are not closely aware of what's really going on. Because the best term to put it is energy vampiric issues happening now among us. So that record in itself, for some weird reason, my mic was disabled in the drive of the software. Not muted, but disabled, so that means the recording wasn't being recorded from my laptop or the microphone that I had set up separately. Now, technically, if you ever deal there to be software, you know that it's almost impossible to automatically happen without someone actually going and manually disabling the driver itself. And this is what had happened. So I wouldn't be able to upload that one, but it was very, very informative and straight to the point, and it's messed up. So what I want to get into is, right now, a lot of us will be getting attacked from close relatives, close friends, and close family, NPCs. Now, it's no longer like how it used to be before, where it's like an aggression. Now it's a subtlety to the way how things are being done. The system is becoming more and more refined and deceptive. So what you'll notice is more and more your time would be taken up with they will be coming to you for everything, but what they are coming to you with, they seem to want help, but they are bringing their troubles and their worries and casting it upon you. So in other words, as a fun statement, no offense to anyone who is maybe still have any Christian links, that you are like the Christ to them. So what they're doing, they're taking all your burdens and casting it upon you. But what is happening, your energy is now being sucked and placed into them. So when they are feeling okay after you, let's say something that have domestic issues or whatever, it's always issues they come to you at. And the way how we are naturally, the ones that is really true to ourselves, we really love everyone. We want to help all, whether you NPC or not. But we need to be more wise and say, hey, let's judge everything that's coming to us. not what, as I was explaining, you don't look at what is being done, but you have to now discern what's the intention of what's being done. You also have to look at something from inside out in order to avoid this, because if you look at the surface, you can be easily deceived by it. Someone hand you a nice glass of water doesn't mean that that person have great intention giving you that water. So these are the things you have to closely look into. Now, for me, it's easy because I naturally have a strong ability with, as I was saying, knowledge and understanding. So I can discern things and pick up someone who has a different intention to their action very easy. But all of us can develop this. It's just you have to put work into that area of yourself. So I just want to address the part where, and give a couple of scenarios, because I know a lot of us, as I explained it to Chris before the show, is going through this. I can feel a lot of us going through this. Everyone I spoke to is going through this, and a lot of us is going through a stage of frustration, where it's like so much around us is like a cluster, and our sphere is now being polluted, and it has a long-term effect on us that, as it now started, you may not see this effect, but eventually it's going to affect us in a very, very negative way. And by the time you notice what's going on, you're already being thrown back by a good bit where it's concerned with gnosis.
Uh-oh.
Now we lost the telephone connection.
Oh, interesting. Well, I was going to.
See if we can get
I
it
didn't
back.
want to interrupt him because he was on a roll there, but I completely understand what he's saying, because the thing about helping people and wanting, we're good-hearted people. We want to help everybody. We want to make everybody's lives better. But at the same time, what ends up happening, and this is exactly the reason why I no longer do tarot readings for just anybody, or I don't do natal charts or birth charts for just anybody, because what happens is people they're subconsciously doing it. They're not doing it consciously most of the time anyway. Is what they're doing is they're attaching themselves to you as an energy source. Mm-hmm. And they need a positive energy source in their lives because they're drained themselves and they don't know how to create positive energy in their own lives. And so what they do is they reach out for help, but subconsciously what they're doing is they're looking for a way to attach a tether to your energy source to feed off of it, and they don't know that they're doing it most of the time. And I'm not saying that they're bad people or anything that they're doing that, but what you're doing is ultimately detrimental both to you and to them, because one, it's the same thing as, teach a man to fish and he'll eat for a lifetime, but give a man a fish and he'll eat for a day. You're only helping them for that time that they're still attached to you. And then once you break that attachment, they no longer have that positive energy source, and then they suffer. It's much better to teach them how to create positive energy for themselves rather than let them leech off of you.
Spot on. Something that I've come to the realization of, and we have Matt Simon back on, so we're going to get to Matt here in just a second, but I do want to say it's kind of like a pendulum. I found in my own journey, I wanted to help a bunch of people on a one-on-one basis, but I encountered a lot of vampires who were feeding off of my energy. So then that pushed me to the polar opposite side, which was completely disconnecting and closing myself off from everybody. Right. And for like a year, I didn't answer emails, I didn't answer private messages, nothing like that, because I was like, it's what we offer here on the show is how you can help yourself, the tools to help yourself. But then I went back and I read some of the messages, and I'm like, you know what? I missed out on connections with so many great people. So now I'm trying to find that balance once again, but being aware of the way the energy is sucking you dry. It wants to do one of two things, either suck you dry or isolate you, one or the other. You can't fall into either one of those traps, which makes discernment that much more important. We have Matt Simon on.
Absolutely.
And for anybody wondering, what we're playing in the background is just some footage, since we don't have any video footage of Matt. And it's some footage from the ayahuasca ceremony we did at the Temple of Hatshepsut, just something non-copyright that I found in my folder. And I said, okay, we'll just play this as the background. So it's just background, doesn't have anything to do with what we're talking about right now. Matt, please take us away again.
Yes, Chris. Okay, so I don't know why the recorders drop. To be honest, all these connection issues and so on that we are having here, this is highly unusual. I never get connection issues unless I'm going to talk about certain topics with you all or other friends and so on, associates that I made through realizing their energy signature that we are all similar and we can communicate along certain things. This is highly unusual, but I'll get straight back into it. It really breaks my focus here badly. So what I was saying is the way how the system is moving very subtle, but also things like these technical issues, this mysterious way the system disables my driver. As I said, Chris, you know how the software works, and that's something physically you have to do. It cannot automatically disable the driver for the attachment microphone and the driver for the actual system, the mic system on the PC. That's
Right. I want to explain it to people real quick. So Matt was doing an interview with somebody, and he was recording it. And what happened is the actual driver came up disabled in his software. That it was disabled in the Windows Device Manager level. It wasn't disabled in the program or anything like that. And the program was still showing that the driver was active, et cetera, et cetera. In order to disable that driver, you have to go in there and manually disable it. But something happened during this interview, and his voice wasn't recorded on the interview. And the interview was fantastic. But he's finding that these things are happening whenever he's talking about certain topics, like he's talking about tonight. Would you say that's a fair way of saying that, Matt?
Yeah, that's straight to the point. It's exactly what's happening. Even I don't want to disclose her name. She said she's a little shy, but her cat, which I explained to you, Chris, while we were going to start on the interview, the cat was supposed to make kitties in about approximately 6 months. That cat made those kitties on her lap while we were in the interview. On her lap, Chris. And she was like, this damn system and these NPCs, what the hell? This is not even possible. The cat's belly is not even big. And this cat is making bag bursts on her lap while we were doing, and we hear the cat making noises and so on. It was crazy. Oh,
wow.
All right.
So let's get into what's going on right now with the NPCs. You had mentioned something similar to World of Warcraft, and we were kind of joking because I always reference World of Warcraft, and I've never actually played World of Warcraft more than like 5 minutes. I didn't like the controllers. I sat down and I'm like, I don't like this keyboard thing. I don't like this layout, etc. But the premise of reality I have likened to World of Warcraft, but you mentioned something similar with the way the NPCs react within a multi-level or multiplayer environment like that versus reality. So can you take us away on that, please?
Yes. Okay, so I will explain normally I take a little few out of my time when I'm not so busy, to play a little PvP, because PvE on games are so predictable. So I more or less play more PvP games where, you get a little chance to let the brain cells flow, be a little more creative in the way of thinking, strategic gaming, and challenging someone else in a challenge of mind overcoming mind kind of way. And what I noticed is that the team that I'm randomly put on, once it's full with NPCs, however the system structure that came to end, the NPCs are literally running a program, and I explained this to my mother. I said, "Baby B, check this out." I said, "Look at this. I'm playing a game. It has 4 NPCs. Came on with me. We playing. I think logical. I am a strategist. I would sit down. I would think about something. I will understand the rules and so on and the constraints, and I would play suitably. So I'm seeing traps. I'm seeing different things, ambushes, whatever it is. And I'm discussing this with the team. And they are collectively moving in whatever direction. And these are people who does not know each other, does not have any communication until the system randomly put us together to play the team. And they are all moving clearly in a conjunction with one another with no communication whatsoever. So in other words, I'm the only person who's communicating logically and saying, hey, why don't we go left and go around the back? Because obviously they would look to go in the middle waiting for us to cross the path and ambush us. And they would ignore that. It's like I'm speaking to myself and just run straight through the center and be ambushed. And I'm like, wait. This is not fun anymore because the NPCs are literally just running like the scenery is already set and they're just following that role kind of way. But then you get me, who's like an oddball, and I'm not following the how the AI is directing this game. So I'm now like the oddball in the game, like the opposition. And it's crazy. It's really, really crazy. What I will explain to Chris is that we are like a virus. The system is seen us like a virus now. And in our immediate environment and so on, there's the aggression. So what we have to deal with now, there's slight aggression where family and so on, whatever faith, it doesn't need to be Christian, whether you're Hindu, or used to be, or your family is Hindu, Christian, Orthodox, what the hell ever they are, atheists, they are going to start to come behind you because what they're trying to do, they're seeing a change in you and they're trying to pull you back to the way you were before you are aware of certain things and remember certain things, which did a drastic change in the way how you were operating. Because before, when you were operating unconsciously, you were moving along the path with where the programming was carrying you. But from the time you are now unlocked from all the chains and all the bonds around your remembrance and so on, and you start to move independent, you start to be a problem to the system. So for the starters, the system will try to rhino you or iron you back so you become well fitted back into the puzzle that the puzzle design that the environment that it has there laid out for you. And how this plays off is you feel like aggression against you, like your family will now come and talk to you and say, well, tell you things like you're no longer whatever, like the Christian faith, which I'm more dealing with, will come and say, well, you need to get back to God and you're out of your way and you're no longer going in the direction of the Father and this and that and whatever and whatever and whatever. And the thing is, exerting your energy, you have to be very, very observative and very subtle. You cannot engage in a conversation with these NPCs and tell them straight head on what's going on. The best thing to do at this time is try and subtly, if you need to agree with them, but don't put your words into action, do it. Just to end a conflict, prolong it, stretch it out as much as possible. Prolong that conflict, because that's something you don't want, because it doesn't get anywhere. Because remember, we can't really change the NPCs. So we can exert all our energy into them, explain the whole entire gnosis to them, and they will watch you with a dull eye and tell you, what did he just say?
That's
And it's
true.
like,
No,
what?
let me jump in for just a second and let me just say that is totally true because they're not operating from any sense of mind. They're operating from the hive mind of the mainframe. So they're all connected. They don't even realize what they're doing. That's what I've come to understand is they're just acting without any realization. So it's just like that Stranger Things 3, where the hive mind takes over the body and the consciousness that was in the body before isn't the one that's moving the body around at that point. It's the AI that has taken it over. And it's amazing to see this time and time and time again.
Yeah. Yeah, and what he's saying, Chris, is true. I watched Stranger Things just in last night. I watched how did I do that? I literally watched the entire thing in less than 24 hours. That's almost impossible. But yeah, wow. All right, let me forget about it. I don't know how I did it, but I watched the entire season 3. And I noticed certain things are very, very much accurate in the terms of how the system may operate. Now, if you're looking at it from the visual perspective, you may not see any linkage. But if you're looking at it from this perspective, what is the message behind what is being done, then you will understand how it can link to what is going on here. Because as Chris just said, the octopus, which one of them call it an octopus, is not so much like an octopus. It's a hideous creature that tried to come out from the shadow realm and take on flesh and merge flesh to create a body to exist within the physical plane. That was I don't want to tell the show too much about season 3, but this is the key thing. And when it takes control of the body of the host, it lets the host operate on the normal host operation until it meets the ones that they know is aware of what's going on, and then it hijacks the whole system and start to work in ways in order to capture the ones who it cannot take control over, which is the kid who's the stars of the show. Which, when you convert that, it's like the system is similarly trying to do something to us, where it's trying to do the same thing. These MCs are laying low, and even though the hive mind already infected them, and it stays low. It's like in a low hibernated mode. And when the time is right, it just hijacks and then comes and takes full control of that body. And that person has no real control over this stuff. They don't know. They are slightly aware of what they are doing, but they somehow can't really define. It's like they're helpless to stopping themselves from doing the actions, like a strong compelling influence that is controlling them to attack certain people, which were the kids and the family and so on, and go behind 11. All right. So getting back to what I was explaining. So what is happening is very subtle. There are 3 attacks. The first stage for people is now getting a full understanding and taking off locks and unlocking certain remembrance and whatever, however you want to explain it, what you're unlocking from within yourself. You're going to get that brutal attack where it come like hardcore bombardment, try to intimidate you, sort of way to get back into the way you was before. You would get that to start with. For ones like Chris and us, where we already passed that stage and overcome that, we are now being attacked in a subtle way, where everyone wants help. All the NPCs in our immediate environment want our help in whatever way, and they're coming with too much negative things. And we are there to help them. You know, we want to help, and we want to give in and, you know, give a word and to them and tell them so on. But what you are realizing, they're coming to you with their problem, you're exerting your energy trying to help them, even though you're not like willingly trying to push your energy, because your energy is being taken. But the way you feel after you give a help and assistance is like you are not physically drained, but you are energetically drained. So let's say you want to go meditate or whatever you want to do, you are now feeling like, your mindset is telling you, hey, let's go and take a rest. Let's go and sleep. Forget about that for now. Put it off for tomorrow. You had enough already for the day. So much things, you did and so on. And this is happening over and over and over. And I'll get further into that part, how it will affect you in long term. So you have to be very, very careful in the way how you do things. I would say you need to discern and judge everything. Don't think that these NPCs, sadly enough, the best way to put it is don't think these NPCs as our friend. They are here to help us. They are not our enemy, basically, but the way how the AI consider us as a virus now. And I will put more emphasis in how I came about that is because the system is no longer functioning the way it should function. The system is just doing what it thinks it's supposed to do. So if the programming now is manipulated into now making sure everything runs under the NPC programming, that means the system is seeing us as something that is not operating the way it should be operating. So the system itself is now treating us like a virus and trying different methods and strategies in order to counter our movement and try and shut us down to get us back in line, like if we are zombie NPC mind control, just going along to the path where the system was set out in general. So that's how all these different things are now coming into play. So what is happening to us now, we are being attacked very subtle. So let's say you want to help someone, like a family, close family come to you. They come in their issues, whatever. They only come into you when they have a problem. They're taking most of your time. One moment, Chris.
No problem.
I had to hang up that call. My dad would just try and contact me. He had to hold on. All right. So, yeah. And what is happening, the day you have an issue and you try to go to any one of them, this is not just family. This is close NPCs that you have around you. This is close NPCs that you have around you, wherever, whether it's a group of friends that is NPCs, whether it's work colleagues, whether it's your immediate family or relatives. It's all around the board. It's happening to us now. So if you go to them with a problem, they will not assist you. For some reason or the other, they feel compelled not to even pay a single thought to assist you. In whatever way it is, whether it's just a word of advice, whether it's a little example of something, you realize that there's like a resistance in order to assist you. But the first person they collectively would choose to come to if they do have a problem among themselves or with anything else is you. They will come to you for advice. And if you are not observant enough, you would feel, hey, I'm the popular one now. Everyone loves me. No, everyone don't love you because there are certain situations that you go into, and then if you weren't aware all the time and weren't very closely looking at what's going on, you will be caught by surprise that they actually hate your guts to the core for no reason, and you are the one who's there to support and help, and they really hate your guts. And when you try and question them, why do you hate my guts so much? I don't understand. Did I do you anything wrong? Did I ever try and what caused this? And that's when you realize they don't have an answer to the question. It's like they get a glitch now. It's like they can't really answer accurately because they don't have a foundational reason. And when I say hate, I mean hate you. And it's like, what? To reach a stage of hate in someone, there must be some sort of the natural, there must be some sort of something deep down inside, really, really, really getting under your nerve, and still is a hard place to reach. And they're totally like that, yet still, because the system is pushing this within them, the heat is very much momentarily, because once the system hijacks them, they hate your guts. They don't have nothing to do with you. But once the system hijacks them to suck your energy, they love you so much they always come to you for whatever they need. And they expect you. And they want to compel you and think that it is your duty to help them each and every single time. And these things are draining our energy slowly and slowly and slowly. And what happens over time, you realize, hey, I can't meditate no more. I have no time to meditate. I have no time to break down things. I want to drink the brew, but I know I'm not in the right mind space or whatever it is to really get in there. And you keep on pushing back. You have no time to really read or dig deep down in yourself to pull out gnosis and so on. Try and remember certain things. All these things are being pushed back. And what you realize, you are not growing. You're not unlocking more things within yourself. You are now become stagnant. And this is the sort of gameplay. And then there's, of course, the technological thing that is happening when we try to communicate among each other over technology. Some mysterious, very questionable things happen from time to time between us.
That's very true.
Yeah, Chris, back to you.
No, that is very true, and I agree with you. It's I don't even know where to take this. I mean, I've got several comments in the chat. I've got several thoughts on what's going on. There was one comment in the chat here that really raised interest, but I can't find it. I really wanted to get to that one. Anyways, so yeah, they don't know why they're acting in the way that they act. But what they're doing, though, in my opinion, is they're trying to block your path. So if you're going left, they're going to try to make you go right. If you're going right, they're going to try to make you go left. If you're going forward, they're going to try to make you go backwards. And they're going to try to pull you into the energy vortex and the low frequency that keeps you focused on them or focused on whatever it is they're trying to pull you towards, rather than being focused on your path and your journey. And I would say the reason it's happening at this critical time right now is because we've already won. As a matter of fact, in some of the footage there, we were at the Temple of Hathor in Dendera, and I actually said that to the camera. We've already won. I wasn't playing the audio, but I was very clear. We already have won. But as the body is dying, as the virus is being exposed, I have a lot of thoughts on the virus. I've made a couple of posts recently, and I'll get into those after we let Matt go. But as the virus is dying, it's moving its body really hard to try to prevent those who are doing something about the virus from being able to act further as this virus is being eliminated from the system, in hopes that it can create some kind of foothold, just a small foothold within the matrix construct itself, and keep the creators off balance. Because if the creators are off balance, once that reset point hits, everything will topple back off balance as well. As I said before, though, I don't have much faith that it's going to maintain the balance. I think the balance point is a 0 point of exit, evac mission, get out, system shuts down. That's what I know up to this point, but I could be wrong. More information can come in. But the way that the energies are shifting, it seems to be like they're trying to prevent that. It's like they're blocking the door. So you've got the door, it's about to open. They're doing everything they can to keep you from being able to reach that door, which is inwards through the heart into the raw consciousness. Your thoughts? Or Cherie, do you want to comment on anything?
Oh, it's going to be it's going to react violently, because if you've ever seen anybody dying, then you know that it's not a peaceful, it's not like in the movies where their eyes close and they drift off. It's not like that at all. Usually, like an emergency room, an emergency physician will tell you when somebody is close to death, there will be one last violent reaction to the realization that they are going to die, and it's violent. It's this one last, shaking and screaming, and it does not want to die. A being does not want to die, and that includes this virus. And so it's going to be violently thrashing around, as one last effort, a Hail Mary, pun intended, to try not to be ejected from this system. And so during that time, that is the most dangerous time for us as organic consciousness, because it's going to do whatever it thinks will deter us from ejecting it from the system and from killing it once and for all. So be prepared for that.
That is very well said, and it's something that I have noticed as well. The good thing is, though, masks have come off.
Yeah.
Energies are more clear. So now we can see what is what at this particular juncture. And it's actually a good thing in the sense that we're able to disconnect from certain energies. Masks have come off. We can see agendas that we felt within ourselves, but we know now. Like now it's a gnosis.
Evident.
Like we know, okay, the line, the sand has been drawn in the line has been drawn in the sand.
Exactly.
And it's very clear on who's who. Before there was a big question, who's an NPC, who's an organic, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
And there were a lot of NPCs that could fool people into believing that they're organic, because an NPC isn't necessarily a bot. It is a bot, but it doesn't mean that it's like, I am a robot, I am an NPC. No, some of them have information. If you look at the law of one, that is an AI download from the Aten brain that we've talked about before. And it sounds, without a level of discernment, it sounds very good. It sounds very knowledgeable. It sounds like something that is a positive thing or an enlightened thing or a higher dimensional thing, et cetera, et cetera. But when you get down to your raw consciousness for organic consciousness, you can see, well, no, this is 100% AI here. Now the veils have been dropped. So it's a good thing, but it is rough going through it.
Yeah, it is.
No doubt about it. My advice is to disconnect emotionally from everything that's going on right now. I'll elaborate more when we get when we let Matt Simon go. But disconnect emotionally from everything that's going on and work as a technician fixing the path, fixing the machine, fixing whatever it is that you came here to do. Work as a technician, disconnected emotionally, because the emotions is what pulls you in one direction or another. But when you can disconnect yourself from those emotions, then you can be more methodical with what you're doing.
When you're emotional, it's actually your heart chakra.
It's all the chakras. This is exactly what I was getting at. Yes, the chakras, 100%. I don't want to take too much time away from Matt because he's sitting in a car. So I want to give him plenty of time to get everything out there. But let's get back to Matt. Matt, where would you like to go from here, if anywhere?
Yes, Chris. No, you don't have to worry about me so much, Chris. I put this time aside. I have nice school, AC, air conditioned. I'm not warm. I'm not sweating. I'm very relaxed, saucy. All right, so what I came up with is that the thing that can help us right now is being able to gain a strong level of discernment. You have to desire. You have to create emphasis, put the importance of being able to understand and discern what's going on, because, again, you can be tricked very easily with this subtle way how the system is now moving, especially with the way how the NPCs are now coming and draining your energy from you. It's something you need to actually discern. So one of the things I'm saying, strengthen your way of discernment. You need to understand the NPCs in your environment, wherever you're going to function and so on. And look at their tricks. Remember, this is AI. Once you learn the way how they operate, their programming, their tricks and so on, it's very easy to pick up where they will go next and read where they will make the next play. So in that case, I would say keep the mindset also of evasion. You just want to evade and pass out for now. You don't want to go head on into them. Just try and evade it out. Another thing for people, you also, if you can move away from that immediate environment, for a season, do so. Move away from that congested environment if you can. Now, not everyone can do that, but as much as you can, try and get that in. If it means for a month, if it means for a year, if it means for a couple hours, try and get that in. Get away from that environment completely, and try your best to just keep on remembering that you are not. It's sometimes very tricky. Sometimes you feel as though you are a normal human being. That is one of the worst statements ever. We are just human beings. We are not just human beings. That is an NPC statement. It's something I stopped quoting for quite a while because it's something that will get in your subconscious. It may seem as a simple statement. We are just human beings. That is something that is now subconsciously you're telling yourself, hey, I'm a weakling. I'm just a human being. I have no strength, I have no power. I'm vulnerable. And that, remember, we are beings who can control our energy. If you put that in your subconscious, then what happens is that you actually start to manifest that. So then you are automatically making yourself weaker by admitting to yourself now and believing that you are just a human being. You are not just a human being. You're just in a human body. So I'm putting out this word of encouragement for all those who are going through these things right now and giving a little strategy in the way how to deal with it, because it may feel very frustrating when this clusters all around you and you don't have a strategy or a way how to wiggle yourself out of this. And I don't know if you heard about it, Chris or Sherry, about this 5G. This 5G thing is coming up very heavy now, where I'm seeing a lot of new age and spiritualists and so on is getting trapped in this 5G thing, talking about the 5G is open up now and everyone to move their consciousness into the 5G and 5G and 5G. Everything now is about 5G around the season. It started happening about the beginning of this month. Everything I'm seeing now is all about just 5G. What do you think about that?
Well, when it comes to 5G, I keep hearing a lot of people, hold on, let me switch my camera here. I keep hearing a lot of people referring to 5G and seeing it as a threat. I agree with the things that they're saying. However, I have not felt anything within my personal experiences, so I can't speak from experience when it comes to this. However, I can say this. There are elements on the other side. I call them grays. They've been trying to manifest within this construct here. I speculate, and I use the term speculate on purpose because I don't know for a fact, but I speculate that they are manifesting through high levels of radiation in the same way that we're able to take ayahuasca, DMT, things like that, and project our consciousness into other realms or change our own frequency. They're able to do the same thing through radiation. So they're building a radiation grid here in this construct so they can merge into this construct and materialize even more. Now, if that is true, then the 5G technology would definitely be a way to manifest even further, particularly when they're creating uplinks or antennas. I think it's like within 3 blocks of each other. I think with 5G technology, you have to have an antenna every 3 blocks. I mean, the whole space is going to be taken up by these antennas, which is very strange because it seems like the least efficient way to implement this type of technology. I mean, we have cell phone towers now that are projecting 4G that pick up radiuses of miles and miles and miles and miles. That seems more efficient, less infrastructure, less equipment, et cetera, et cetera. Why would they try to use something that's less efficient and that costs way more to implement if there's not an underlying reason behind it? I just don't see that as a good move technologically. So what do you think?
Okay, so I dealt with the 5G technology personally. And the thing is, the more the bandwidth in that the wireless, the reason why, here how it works. It's very high frequency in a short range input, but very little interference, which is not good for the use of human beings when you really think about it. Now, the 4G has a lot of interference. If you ever notice, the 4G, even if you're a little close to it, or you may be a little far, your data may fluctuate or whatever when you check your bandwidth speed from that wireless source. That's because there's a lot of interference because the magnetic frequency being distributed from the tower, from what is generating that magnetic frequency wave, is not as powerful in terms of upholding a condensed and very what's the word? A very, oh my God, I would have to use condensed frequency going outward. It's more or less wavers, it dips and so on. Unlike the 5G, it may go 2 times less in distance, but that frequency uphold is tough. It's stable. It's very condensed. So whatever speeds from the very 1 bar to full bar, you would still get the same speed. It doesn't matter with the range until you reach out of range of it. So in terms of bandwidth, where 4G could, let's say, could hold up to, let's say, roughly about 54 megabits up and down. Now with the 5G, you can now hold about, let's say, up to 100 megabits up and down, which is 2 times more, or up to 200 I've seen some network providers could provide over this damn thing. And the only way that could happen is by raising the magnetic, the radio frequency. When I did broadband course, within that entire course, it had the I did fiber optic engineering, and we had to do a course where you had to set up wireless towers and so on to send frequencies, and that's how I learned the inner working of how increasing the voltage into the device when the device is designed to take that power is the more condensed you get the frequency to push further and without getting lost. So the more power you push into the signal, the less loss you get over distance. So it could go a lot further with a more condensed bandwidth. But of course, there are bandwidths that are just the technology itself, the hardware, is not capable of taking too much voltage, which is like the 4G or the 2G and 3Gs and so on. So this 5G is like way above those others. But the range now is zipped in order to keep the efficiency of it. But what the new age and so on is doing right now on spiritualists, they are asking people now to go energetically transfer their consciousness over to the 5G also. This is something I'm seeing going around right now. They're telling them and giving guides how to energetically enter into the 5G realm because of the retrograde and this and that and then the other. I'm like, what the hell they are talking about? Back to you.
Interesting. I have to evaluate 5G a little bit more within my experiences. I mean, at this point, I can only go by what other people are saying, so I can't really speak on it with any authority. Mrs. Gio, your thoughts?
My thoughts on 5G are that unless you're one of those organic. Okay, so I think 5G is mainly to have an effect on NPCs to the point where it ropes them into even more of a hive mind than previously. And then with organic consciousness, only if the mind is weakened and manipulatable and you're unaware of the energies around you having that influence on you, is it going to be harmful to an organic consciousness? That's just, intuitively what I'm thinking about 5G. I think if you are of the mindset of, I don't fear anything in this reality because I am master of my own universe. I don't let things affect me, then it doesn't really have any effect at all on you. I think it really is it's for the NPCs, but if it can affect some organic consciousness that are unaware of their own personal power, then yeah, it can affect you in negative ways.
You know, you raised a really good point there, and I've always felt that it's mind over matter in the sense that if you think, oh my God, I'm going to get cancer, 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 you're going to manifest cancer within your realm. Likewise, if you are fearful of all of these different frequencies, but you raised a really good point about being able to access the minds of the NPCs through this technology even more. That is an aspect that I really need to look at, and one that I think I can go along with. I can really see that a connection between the AI above, the AI below, bridging that gap, and then sending out these waves that also affect the mind. Now we know they had Gwen towers, and they've had Gwen towers for the last since the 70s, for the last several years,
30 years.
Yeah,
30 years,
the Gwen towers operate on the same frequency as the brain. So they can send signals to the brain through the Gwen towers at the same frequency. People have reported that they're hearing music. I remember when we first got to Colorado, I was hearing music coming out of my fillings, and I'm like, this is strange. Is anybody else experiencing this? And a ton of people were like, I've heard it too. I'm experiencing it too. I don't listen to freaking country music, but I'm just sitting sometimes and I hear freaking country music, and I can say it's word for word because it's like it's coming out of my fillings or something like that. We've had scientists on the show, however, who've said, look, the mercury fillings, they don't have the ability to pick up these radio waves that a signal would be coming through. So there is that opposite side there, but there's a phenomenon that people have been talking about. Now, if they have Gwen towers all over the place and already the ability to interact with the mind, anybody's mind, whether it's organic or NPC, simply because the body itself is part of the machine, so is the brain, which again we'll get to later when we talk about the chakras and all of this and operating from the raw consciousness element of ourselves. But if they were able to already interact with that and they already have an infrastructure set up, why would they need to roll out another infrastructure that does the same thing? So these are all the questions that go through my mind when I think about these topics. Matt, your thoughts?
Yeah, so you ask why would they want to roll it out? Remember, these towers were limited even though. Now the 5G is no longer limited, and they are getting it to be accepted by using commercial advertising to demonize the dangers of the 5G technology physically in this plane. Other to that, as I mentioned also, there is a spiritual movement going on right now of the force light, if you want to classify it as that, you want to put a tag on it, to put your consciousness in the 5G, realm. So people is like talking on YouTube and whatever, getting to followers to know how to meditate to put your consciousness into the 5G realm. Now's the time of the 5G. I'm observing this, and I'm not getting that good feeling about it because physically we are being now bombarded with 5G, and now you want to take the minds of these people and push them into the 5G. Then it's like a total prison. You'll be in prison spiritually and naturally. So in the both planes, you are now trapped under this 5G frequency. So this is what is being pushed here now. So to me, from looking at it from the outside, I'm not getting a good energy coming out from none of this at all. But again, through using commercial advertising and de-demonizing the actual technology of 5G among users, saying how well it is because people want more speed. And the thing is, why the hell? I'm explaining that to a colleague in work where I work, and he's like, the lift is not working. I want 100 megabits on my phone. I'm like, dude, why the hell you want 100 megabits on your damn cell phone? Are you doing any live stream? Are you doing any off stream? No. Then why would you want so much speed on your phone? Because I can have it. I'm like, but you don't need it. So, and even though you have no access to it in a certain area, the things you can still do the things that you want to do because the phone naturally doesn't need all that bandwidth to do what? To go on Facebook. All you need to watch on a video soon on Facebook is about 10 megabits for the most. If you want to do Skype or whatever, maybe 15 megabits for the most. And that's download. But you want all the speed for what? What do you really need all the speed for? The vast majority of the population doesn't do things that require high bandwidth like what me and you do, Chris, where you stream and so on, and actually put uploads and these different things and have someone streaming through and you need a good bandwidth to push for these things so the quality will be okay. A lot of people don't need all the speed. So what's the whole rush about all the speed? And what I realize is they're using the commercial market to trap the minds of the people to gravitate towards the technology, even though it's something that they do not need. Yeah.
Yeah, that does make sense. So I'm gonna have to look at this 5G situation a little bit deeper, but you know, I wonder though, Matt, and give me your thoughts on this. I wonder if like the 5G thing and several other things like that are merely the one head of the Hydra or one tentacle of the octopus. And we're kept focused. I mean, this is the way I feel, is that we're kept with our focus to one tentacle or one head of the Hydra, or, you know, however you want to create a metaphor around this. And we're just in this endless battle of cutting off one tentacle and another and another and another, when in actual fact, the focus is the eye of the machine itself. Whatever the machine spits out is irrelevant. The eye of the machine is the only way to defeat the machine. Your thoughts?
What you say is 100% accurate. And again, it's such a subtle game, because even with the 5G and all these different things rolling out and the chaos and so on, remember, these things are within our everyday environment as we live and so on. We are around these things and we are around these NPCs, and these things actually influence us. For instance, if the price of fuel raises, it influences us as much as we would like it or not, because we need fuel for our vehicles and so on. So all of these things influence us. And the thing is you have to really know, you have to keep your eye on the objective, as you say, Chris, because again, it could be carried away. You can't get carried away. And I've seen myself fall into the case. I have to pull myself back many times because you're so focused on that. And as you say, how I phrase those things is I say, you need to deal with the cause of the problem and not the effect of the problem. But the thing is, at this point in time, honestly, the effects of the problem, which is the effects of the AI doing certain things, are actually putting some damage on us. So again, it's all about evasion. Try and evade it and keep the focus. Remember, our focus is to, as you said, to get rid of the I. You need to fix that, get rid of that or escape that, because that's the real cause for all of what is happening. All the tentacles in different places, as you saw it, tentacles in religion, tentacles in politics, tentacles everywhere. And it's throwing influence there and drawing energy out of the system. And the biggest ball of energy that is getting is from beings like us, especially the ones who is trapped into thinking and worshiping the AI, and all the energy is being pushed into the system, into the AI. And they are totally off course to the fullest, and the AI is flourishing from these things. So I do agree with you on that, Chris.
Excellent. I'm sorry. I was replying to a comment here. Oh, we're in Abydos on this video. Cherie's very serious. She's very serious about what's going on.
That was some dark energy there.
Abydos was the darkness, for sure. It was the other side of the coin. Mm-hmm. Matt, I think that we have covered a tremendous amount of information tonight.
Yes,
and
we have.
I think everything you're saying is spot on from my intuitions and my analysis of the situation. So I think at the end of the day, the only thing that we can really do is just kind of sit back, understand what's going on. And just like the 5G technology, just like the NPC manipulation, just like the transits of the sky as well, being aware of them allows us to step outside of them, and thus we become the navigators and we become the pilots rather than letting the stars influence us, or the NPCs push us in a different direction,
Right.
or the technology around us push us in one direction or another. What do you think?
That's totally correct, Chris. Totally correct. And that's the point I'm drawing here. But other than just raising the awareness, you now have to build a strategy. As I say, you need to discern and judge. You need to have the knowledge and discernment with the knowledge. You need to judge all things. And when I say the word judge, I'm purposefully using it to change the way how people think about the word judge. Because judging doesn't mean indicting something and convicting it as wrong. Judging means it's a center point. Judgment is a center point. Not the way how, especially the Christian faith, push a negative way to the meaning of judgment. It's a center point where you look at something from a neutral point, point zero, not plus one or minus one. You're in point zero. You look logically at the situation. You gather information on both sides, and then you make a straightforward logical decision based on what you're looking into. And these things take a lot of really focusing and understanding. You need understanding and knowledge. I keep stressing these ways. Right now, around the season that we are in, it's not so much for the muscle. We need to put down the muscle power a little bit and start building the mental power, the mind game. This is the season for the game of the mind. The system is trying to draw your essence from your thinking, from your thought, from your inner being right now. Because it realized trying to push at us physically and so on is not really working out. So it's now trying to trick our minds into working into the way that it wants us to work into.
Well said, brother. You're completely and totally spot on. Now, I want to talk about the chakras. I want to talk about a couple of other things and how this virus is manifesting. Would you like to stay on with us during this so you can comment, or do we need to let you go? Because I know you're sitting in a car. Even though you have nice, cool AC and everything like that, I know you've got other stuff to get to. So it's your call.
I will enter into chat after, so I will go for now, but I would be in the chat and so on. Yeah, we can continue, but I would be in the chat with the other BTV members.
Awesome. Brother, we really appreciate it, and we're looking forward to speaking to you again in a couple of weeks. Matt Simon is a regular guest here on BTV, and our hyperspace correspondent from the other side. Enjoy the boat ride, my brother, and pleasant journeys.
Yes, you too, Chris.
All right.
We love
Sorry,
you, Matt.
you have a pleasant one. Yo, take care.
Love you, brother.
You
Take care.
too.
What an awesome energy. Top
I
notch.
love Matt.
Top notch. You know, we were talking earlier, and Matt had said, you know, when I talk to you, Chris, I don't feel drained.
Right.
And I said, I feel the same way about you too. There were other people, I would talk to them for 5 minutes, I just felt completely drained. And it wasn't like there was anything topic wise. It wasn't like they were,
and it wasn't
you know,
like their fault or
right.
anything.
It wasn't anything that they were bringing up. They weren't bringing up drama. They weren't bringing up any of that. It's not like they were sucking the energy. It was just something about their energy that was just draining. Matt is a breath of fresh air.
Yes, he is.
For sure.
Yes.
As are several other people that we have planned to come on
Yeah.
BTV here in the coming weeks too. We got an awesome show planned for you next Thursday at 8 p.m. I don't want to...
It's a surprise.
It's a surprise round table. So
Yes.
it's going to be freaking dope. I guess on that note, let's take a quick break.
Yeah.
Because we need to get up and stretch for a second.
Yes.
And let's see...
I'm also going to check on the kitties
Checking on the kitties.
because they have been up to no good lately, ladies and gentlemen. They've discovered that they can actually do things that they're not supposed to be doing, and
I suspect they do that when we're not home.
I think they do. Yeah.
I left the house and they didn't know Cherie was still here.
Uh huh.
So they went downstairs and they were like, meow, meow. And Cherie went running downstairs. Oh, I'm here, babies. I'm here. It's okay. I speculate that what they're doing is doing the meow, meow, meow
To
check if anybody's home. And if not, then they're on the island. They're on the kitchen
everywhere
counter.
they're not supposed to be.
They're on the dining table. They're on the dresser in the bedroom. Anywhere they want to be. So I think they're checking, but Cherie thinks that they're missing us and they're calling out to us like, "Oh, I'm scared. I miss you." What do you guys, gals, and think? What do you guys and gals think about that? Let us know in the comments. Let us know in the chat down there too during the break.
Definitely.
What do you think, Mrs. Gio?
I will, according to the experts, quote unquote, bunny ears, they are about 7.5 years old in cat years versus human years. And so, what do 7.5-year-olds do when mommy and daddy aren't home? They're into everything. They're digging around in the back of the closet to see if they can find any Christmas presents that might be wandering around in there. And, they're doing exactly what they aren't able to do when mommy and daddy aren't home, are home. So, I think they're testing their boundaries right now and figuring out, okay, what can we get away with and all of that. So you
Very
guys
true.
let us know while we take a quick break, and we'll be right back with even more for you here at Beyond the Veil.
Am I interrupting? Thought you might be running low.
Pour yourself a glass, pal.
Thank you, but I'm afraid it would be wasted on me.
I think we wasted our time coming here, don't you?
Your question depends on me understanding what you hope to achieve by coming here.
What we hope to achieve was to meet our makers, get answers, why they even made us in the first place.
Why do you think your people made me?
We made you because we could.
Can you imagine how disappointing it would be for you to hear the same thing from your creator?
May I ask you something?
Please do.
How far would you go?
To get what you came all this way for? Your answers? What would you be willing to do?
Anything and everything.
You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth!
I am the hub of the wheel, the origin of all life, the devourer of death.
Or maybe you're just hungry. Could it be as simple as that?
I made you, and I will unmake you if I become so inclined.
Oh, I see you now as you truly are. A cancer. A spooling parasite burrowed deep in the heart of this world.
Go now. Play out your pitiful rebellion and take your place among the destroyed, the used, and the damned. But know this. You are a puny creature, more fragile than you realize.
I wonder, old one, did you truly resurrect me, or were you simply there when I awakened from my torment in the abyss?
My dear traveler, the purpose of raw consciousness is never to destroy. It is always to create. Build bridges. Create happiness. And bring forth new life. We must live in the hope that mankind will draw together. And that we better understand each other. The more that we awaken, the easier this will become. Now rise. Follow your conductors. And fear no danger. As you step beyond the veil.
All right, jumping back into it, Mrs. Gio is still checking on the kitties. But we have received a lot of love in the super chat. Colin Sewell, King Henry, Zombie Bars, Soli, Colin again. and asking some really cool questions. Do you think that the government is decriminalizing psychedelics more so NPCs can unknowingly and easily let the lower vibrational entities attach easier? You know, that is a really interesting question. My thoughts on that would be, can NPCs access these higher levels of consciousness in the same way that organic consciousness can? So I was talking to a couple of people, and they said they had this huge DMT breakthrough and all of this, and they were able to reconnect with a long-lost loved one, and, you know, all of this. And I was thinking to myself, it's not really a DMT breakthrough. That's something else. I was glad that they were sharing the experience, but I'm wondering if that's the levels of experiences that the NPCs have. However, I think of some other NPCs that I've talked to who tell me experiences of contact with all these different entities and this and that, and they're taking all these orders from all these different entities and all this. So perhaps that is right. Perhaps the NPCs can be moved upwards in frequency the same as organic consciousness can, and they're able to traverse to other levels as well. That's a very interesting thought. I know that my views changed before I went to Egypt versus after I came back from Egypt when it came to psychedelics. Because I realized in Egypt, psychedelics were given only to the priest class, only to a certain type of person and a certain type of consciousness. And some gnosis has to be approached individually. So, you know, I can dump all the secrets of the universe upon an NPC right now, or upon somebody that's totally asleep. And to them, it's going to sound like I'm banging pots and pans and trying to wake them up like that. They're actually going to hate me for it and attack me for it. Think that I'm a freaking weirdo. Think that I'm, you know, completely insane, etc., etc. But when you approach it yourself and you open one door after another, then the experiences and the knowledge not only becomes more sacred, but it also becomes more powerful. And through that power that you access within yourself, it also allows you to access the power within yourself to access more points of your raw consciousness and essentially deactivate, let's put it like this, deactivate the overlay layers which are over our raw consciousness. So going through that process, it was something sacred and personal, and something that you have to come to yourself. Because the journey's meaningless if you don't come to it yourself. That's why the occult is hidden. That's why things are secret and kept secret. It's because the knowledge needs to be preserved, but at the same time, you have to go out and seek it yourself. Otherwise, it's meaningless. Just like the Bible. You know, the Bible, well, not just like the Bible, but the opposite of the Bible. The Bible is forced upon you through every avenue as you're growing up. It's in every freaking hotel room. They knock on your door. They constantly push the Bible upon you, which when you start to awaken and peel back the layers, when you really start to think for yourself, you ask yourself, at least I did. I asked myself, why are they trying to force this upon me? And what lays beyond it? So then I realized that as I started to uncover occult mysteries within myself and within ancient texts, etc., I realized that these were hidden for a reason, because it became that much more powerful when I came across it and when I actually sought the information. So I would also apply that same type of understanding to psychedelics too. If psychedelics are readily available, I think the majority of people would take them for fun, and that's it. I mean, we did when we were kids because we didn't know any better. And at some point, the seekers will start to seek. But in Egypt, it was only given to a certain level. When you got to a certain level, then you were given the psychedelics. So now that I'm thinking about this and kind of working it out, I think you might be right. Maybe it is to kind of like throw the awakening at literally everything possible and see what access points they can access within that, especially without discernment, especially without going through the process. I mean, you pick up a firearm and you don't know how to use it. That could lead to danger. And or if you're trained as a kid to use a firearm your entire life, there's a very small chance that you're going to have an accident with that weapon. But if you're just thrown a weapon, there's a very good chance that you will have some kind of accident regarding that weapon. So on the same note, the gnosis, the hidden understanding, et cetera, you dump it on somebody that doesn't know what to do with it, they could definitely be manipulated through that. Cherie, I was touching upon the question of that Colin asked. Do you think that government is decriminalizing psychedelics more so NPCs can unknowingly and easily let lower vibrational entities attach easier? So I don't know if you want to comment on that or not, but I just went on this whole, probably 10-minute
tirade.
Yes.
Well, you probably said exactly what I'm about to say, which is that when NPCs use drugs, they have the textbook definitions of the reactions to those drugs. And the reason why that is because when, most scientists, especially ones that research pharmaceutical drugs and illegal drugs, all of the NIDA and the National Institutes of Mental Health, all of those bean counters and people like that, they are NPCs themselves, and the people they choose to use these drugs, to test them, are also NPCs. And so there's a very small population of people that aren't NPCs. And so, of course, they're going to have these textbook definitions of the reactions to these drugs. And that includes being highly suggestible, being, and by that I mean, whatever you tell them is reality, they will latch on to that even more because of those drugs. And that's why there's been such a backlash publicly and socially against things like LSD, because the government used it for mind control purposes. When an NPC uses LSD, it's far different of a reaction than when an organic consciousness uses LSD.
That's very true. If I can jump in for just a moment and say this, I don't think that an NPC is going to take a high amount of LSD and Molly, for example, which is traditional candy flipping at a rave, et cetera, and then be able to go in and map out the entire soul harvesting system.
No.
I don't think they have those experiences. So just to kind of go to the point that you're saying.
Right, exactly. They're not using drugs to expand their consciousness as much as they're using drugs to have a good time, and to change the chemical makeup of their brains to feel pleasure. Organic consciousness, they use drugs to actually get something done in their consciousness, to actually have a goal in mind. And that goal in mind, if that's not there, then that's when the whole suggestibility and the mind control and the siphoning of energy from these entities comes in. When you use these drugs, I don't care what it really is. I mean, it could even be opium. It could be coca. It could be, even the ones that are typically thought of as bad. When an organic consciousness uses them, they're using them for a specific purpose with a goal in mind. And when an NPC uses them, they just want to feel effed up, or they want to, be out of control of their body, or they, want to feel good. And when you do it for those reasons, that's when all of what the caller or the person asking the question was talking about comes into play.
Well said. Said. M is in the house. Nice to see you, M. She said, I use ayahuasca just to get something off my chest and feel lighter once I do. And I've come to that point as well, to where it's kind of like, the energies get too tense or intense. I start to get caught up in the illusion too much. So I step outside and then come back. And I'm like, okay, it's just like a reminder that it's an illusion. But I mean, lately it's been really crazy because, we took the LSD and the Molly a couple weeks ago. we didn't intend to map out the whole freaking system. We didn't intend to do any of that. We intended to just chill. Like that was our intention. Chill. That's it. And all of a sudden, boom, I'm thrusted into the freaking system. I'm thrusted into the energy harvesting machine. I'm looking at the different dimensions. I'm looking at the way the energy, I didn't plan this. But when it happened, I took control of the situation because I was so used to being in that disconnected state that I'm like, okay, cool. Now that I'm here, I can go to point A, point B, point C, point D, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It was mind-blowing, but intention is important. Now, when we were growing up, we didn't know that you can use these with intention, which is why we do shows like this. And it's amazing because the more kids that I talk to, and when I say kids, I mean, like 20-year-olds, the more enlightened that I'm finding them because they have access to shows like this. They have access to Terrence McKenna's material. They have access to people that are just saying, you can use these with intention. Like they're not using anybody else's intention. It's just the idea that you can use these with intention that is changing the game right now, which I think is phenomenal.
Well, and I think you simplified that a little bit too much when you were talking about our intention behind candy flipping the other, a few weeks ago. I think you were oversimplifying that a little bit too much because that wasn't actually the intention. The intention was to not reconnect, because we're always connected, but to be even closer in our relationship, because it's done wonders for our relationship to journey together every once in a while, and it re-solidifies and meshes us together as a couple, as twin flames. I think, at least for me, that was the intention behind it.
That's true. We were like, okay, well, we need to chill. That's what I mean by chill. We need to chill, kind of merge back together, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
But then all of a sudden, boom, it's like total system map comes out.
Right, exactly. We ask for a teaspoon and we get a pound,
Yeah.
So,
and I think it had to do with the kitties.
I know
it was the
did.
first time we journeyed with the kitties, and they both came to the bed. I'm sorry for being redundant. They both came to the bed, sat there like this. They started, and then they turned into these little elf type things that had these spinning little eyes going all the way around them, and little things coming out of their heads.
Alien robot elf things.
Yeah, and they were like just really ramping up the space, and they were like, oh, it was so amazing.
They amplified it so much.
I wish I could capture these moments on video and then show you guys. This is all happening in the realm, though, so it's not like they actually transformed. But it's all happening in the realm. I wish I was an artist so I can draw some of this out. It was so amazing. And when I saw this, I was like, oh, well, that's cute. A little LSD hallucinations. Mm-hmm. But then Cherie was like, they're doing a little spinning thing. And I was like, what are you seeing? And she's
so
like,
cute.
They're doing this and they're doing that. And I'm like, I'm seeing the exact same thing.
Yep.
Confirmation. Anyways.
It's ever since I did DMT for the first time, the one thing that I came out of the experience saying is, I wish I was an artist. I wish I knew how to draw so that I could draw this out as to what I've just experienced. Because, it's Terrence McKenna once said, if these experiences on DMT especially weren't real, then we would all be a Rembrandt. We would all be a Da Vinci. We would all be, these artists that could create. Because what you see on DMT is just so beautiful and so profound and so real that, it has to be real on some level, what you're seeing there in that realm. And because otherwise I could not come up with this on my own. I don't have an artistic kind of mind, even as much as Chris does. I couldn't do what Chris does creatively with the music and everything. Just like, he probably couldn't do what, some of our listeners can do with art, like Jonathan, remember Jonathan, that artist that did that portrait of us? I couldn't do that. And you couldn't do that. Yet in these experiences, we're seeing such beauty and splendor that our minds wouldn't be able to come up with on their own. And that's why, it's just...
M said that her kitty did the same thing, had 6 eyes and something above its head.
Oh, really?
So
cool.
there's something to it. And it's weird, as I've said before, we used to have cats growing up. So we had cats all around us, and we took many, many psychedelics with cats. I never saw this until now.
Right.
So either I've changed or the kitties have changed, one or the other.
I think it's... Well, you've gone from having a consciousness that's about this big to a consciousness that's as big as a house,
Yeah.
So I think it has to do with the consciousness.
That are wreaking havoc in my life, but I can't trust anyone. And it's funny that you asked this because this came up with another person earlier. We do not host ayahuasca ceremonies. We have thought about getting a piece of land or something where we can do ayahuasca weddings, which I think would be amazing.
Yeah.
People who want to get married, they come and they first of all do the ayahuasca to make sure they want to enter into that, to understand what they're entering into when they're merging and bonding and becoming one with each other, and then another one after the fact too, to kind of solidify everything. I think that's just kind of wishful thinking, though. It's not something that we have time for. We barely have time for what we're doing now.
Right.
To answer your question, though, where can we go to get real, authentic, safe ayahuasca experiences yourself?
Within.
Yep. Be very apprehensive about who you are doing ayahuasca with and who's giving you the ayahuasca. I have heard of people who have been giving ayahuasca to people, and then the people start developing some serious issues.
Mentally.
Some of them in mental hospitals, things like that. So I didn't really think much of it until the energies were kind of revealed. And then I thought, oh, okay, there's something really, really dangerous going on here.
Yeah.
And when people do the ayahuasca for themselves, when they become their own shaman, we get nothing but positive feedback.
That's right.
People's lives change, they improve themselves, et cetera, because you're focusing on what is inside of you, and you are the one that is going within yourself.
And
you don't
you're
have
doing the work.
an external source. You don't have anything like that. You're doing the work for yourself.
Right.
So I recommend become your own shaman, make it yourself. That is, in my opinion, the best way. I have heard of some retreats. We are actually invited to go out to a retreat. Graham Hancock has been there. There have been several others. They want us to put our stamp on this retreat. So they've invited us to go out there. I need to contact the owner. He's been writing me. He wrote me a few different emails, and he wants to get us out there. We will go check that retreat out and see. It's like really nice. It's like a 5-star resort type thing, and check it out and see what's going on. And if it's something we can put our stamp on, then we can say, okay, we had a good experience. You'll probably have a good experience. I would be apprehensive to tell anybody you will have a good experience.
Right, exactly.
Because I don't know. It's all up to you. There are many different factors too. Your state of consciousness, your previous experiences, if any mental history, pharmaceutical use. There's so many different factors in
that
it,
go into that. Yeah.
which is why it's like, do it one-on-one yourself with somebody you trust. Yeah. Somebody that if something goes wrong, they will act appropriately. They will act accordingly. Somebody is not going to implant a bunch of stuff into your mind. Somebody that if the freaking candle falls over and catches fire, somebody will be there to react to that appropriately, quickly, and you don't have to worry about anything. So those are my thoughts, and seeing how things have unfolded, I'm even more steadfast in that understanding now than I've ever been in my journey. But I started to also realize, as people have pointed out in the chat, it's not for everybody.
No.
But I'm not the one to tell you if it's for you or not.
Right, exactly.
You are the only one that can determine if it's for you or not.
Yeah. We've determined over the past several years that, we used to say, oh, ayahuasca is for absolutely everybody. Everybody needs to try this at least once. You got to do it. You got to do it. But I think we've matured now to the point where we recognize that it isn't for everyone, and that it's not like an elite club or anything like that. It's the fact that some people are not going to be helped by it, and in fact could be harmed by it simply because of their genetic makeup, or the pharmaceuticals they take, or something in their lives that precludes using ayahuasca.
Yeah.
It may not be right for you, and about the whole shaman versus doing it by yourself or whatever. I don't think anybody knows you like you. Nobody knows you deep at the deepest layers of yourself but you. And when you put that kind of trust in the hands of somebody you've never even met before, or you just met 5 minutes ago, and apparently he's really good and all of this, that's great and all, but is he really going to be able to get to the deepest layers of who you are and unravel that mystery for you the way that you would be able to?
Right.
Right. That's just the question that you got to ask.
Hashtag become your own shaman.
Become your own shaman has been.
Yeah. You also get energetically bound to
That's
people.
Right. Yes.
And if you're energetically bound to the wrong energies, it could be disastrous.
Oh, yeah, it can.
So again, that's another reason why I don't drink ayahuasca with anybody but Sheree.
Yep.
That's it.
Yeah,
Nobody. I don't fuck with no one.
Other. We don't.
I don't fuck with no one.
we
and it's because Sheree is me.
Have no.
I mean, she's my other half. It's like
Right.
she is really the same consciousness as me. We were split at one point in time, and we know this.
Male and female.
Yeah. Somebody was asking if you can do implant removal for people. I know you did implant removal for me, but yeah, people were asking in the chat earlier if you can. I said I don't know. Probably.
I wouldn't do it for anyone else but Chris.
Yeah.
Personally, for several reasons. Number one, like I was saying earlier about the energetic attachments you get to people when you're doing clearings on them, or you're doing tarot for them, or you're doing astrology for them. There is that attachment there. It's unavoidable. You will have some kind of energetic attachment to that person. And if that person is not the right person to be energetically attached to, then it can take a lot of effort and a lot of extra work to break that attachment, to break that tether down the line. Number two, if you don't know what you're doing, it can be dangerous to you to remove implants from someone, because
they can attach to you.
They can attach to you instead.
My implants tried to attach to you.
Yes, they did. Mm-hmm. Yes, they did. Well, there was one in particular. The ones in his head were no big deal. That's the brain, the mind. Those kinds of things. That's easy. That's easy peasy lemon squeezy as far as energetic attachments and implants and all that. That's not a big deal. What was trying to attach to me was the heart one. And that one is way more complicated. When you've got implants in the head or, anywhere else in the body, that's, not that dangerous to remove. They look like mothballs they're gray. They look like, they're the same constitution and color as, in Stranger Things, that monster thing, the spider-looking monster, whenever he's still like that gray, before he becomes, the pile of corpses, it's like this gray smoke, in consistency. Those are easy to remove. You just blow them away. The one in his heart it looked mechanical. It was it was shaped like a hand, with 5 fingers, and each finger had spikes on the end of it, and it was attached like a claw to his heart. And I tried to remove it the same way I removed the other ones. It was not budging. In fact, it was digging in even deeper the more I tried to remove it. And so I told him, I can't do this. This is, it's going to hurt you worse the more I keep trying. And he said, I give you permission to remove this. And at that point, the spikes that were on the end of it retracted, and I was slowly able to remove one finger at a time of this thing. But as I was doing that, it started moving around and looking for something else to attach to, and attached to my wrist. And, it was, by the time I got it fully removed from his heart, it was fully attached to my wrist. And it was painful. It was very disturbing, the way that this thing seemed to be sucking my energy as it was digging in further and further into my wrist. And I just got this idea that I grabbed the water the blessed water from the Nile, the same water that we used to bless the temple with before we started all this. I took that same water and I poured it all over my wrist, and it was acid to it, and it dissolved. At that point, I was able to get rid of it, but there are dangers involved in removing these implants from people.
Well, now that you're saying this, and this was at the Temple of Isis, I wish we would have filmed this part of it, because it was really powerful. But
it was.
Then it's like, how do you journey so deep with cameras going and learning about cameras and all that stuff? But
yeah.
Anyways, so I remember this. And I remember, I remember, and that song was playing. Da, na, 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 na. And it was like, as soon as you removed it, it was like this. It was like this barrier had been removed. Like,
you know what it was? It was like
I was able to go. It was like there was a block, and you removed it, and I was able to go.
Well, it was like, when a plane is on like when a military plane is on the tarmac on top of a boat, and they have to remove those things from in front of the wheels.
Yes.
And as soon as those implants were removed, it was like those things were pulled out, and it just
right. That's exactly
took
what
off
it was
at full speed.
Yeah. It was intense. So, we use the water from the Nile. Now, obviously, people don't have access to water from the Nile. I think the water from the Nile was symbolic for our personal experience and removing the implants on a personal level. But I'm wondering, Cherie, can you think of anything that people can use? And let me also say this thought as well. It's amazing because I was not able to see any of my implants. In all of my journeys, I never identified my own implants. So that begs the question, can we even view our own implants? And if so, why have we not seen them? Maybe from just not being aware of them and not looking for them. But if it is a situation where we can't see them, then obviously we need somebody who can remove them if we can't remove them from ourselves. But, now that I'm saying it out loud, I think we can through the awareness. So I would say next time you are in a meditation or in a heavy psychedelic experience, look for the implants and remove the implants like that. I mean, you have to see them first. Once you identify them, then you can start removing them. But you were talking about the Nile water. What else can be used besides the Nile water, in your opinion?
This is going to sound really weird. But what I use...
Are you going to say menstrual blood?
No.
Oh, okay.
Ew, gross. No.
I don't know why. I thought it was like some kind of female Wiccan type thing.
You can if there's a better way of doing it, a less messy way of doing it, and a way of doing it that even males can participate in, is you take a crystal that has been blessed by the sun and the moon. And, when I say blessed by the sun and the moon, you leave it out, in the sunlight for 12 hours. And then you also leave it out during a full moon for 12 hours. You bless it in both ways. You put that crystal in a glass, and you fill that glass up with water. And then the crystal will charge that water up the same as the Nile is automatically already blessed by Isis.
You know, somebody in the chat raised a really good point. We could sell your bath water, and the people can use that to remove the implants. We'll start the bidding at $10,000 for a tubful.
That's horrible.
Did you hear about that YouTube? There's like a YouTube gamer girl, and she looks very anime looking. I mean, I don't even know if she's real. I've never seen any of her videos, but her pictures look very anime looking, and she's selling her bath water. And people are like vaping it, and you know, they started a whole conspiracy that she has like herpes and all kinds of stuff like that. And they started the conspiracy though before the bathwater actually shipped. So it's like, oops, they messed up on that one. But yeah, there's this gamer girl that's selling her bathwater. That's what the joke is all about for anybody that's not in the loop.
There's I just realized something. The Eye of Life crystals are already blessed.
There you go.
So if you have an Eye of Life crystal, that would be already perfect. You put it in a glass, fill the glass up with purified water. Don't just, put tap water in there and stuff. That's just, terrible. Especially fluoridated water or anything like that. Use pure water, put it in with the Eye of Life crystal, and then use that water to dissolve any implants that might attach themselves to you in that process of removing implants. I'm of the mind that we can even remove implants from ourselves. I don't think that it's a requirement to have someone else do it for you. Instinctively I'm thinking, if you're strong enough and if you're prepared enough and if you know what you're doing, you can remove your own implants. And it just takes it takes a few things. It takes knowledge of where they are, and it also takes knowledge of the self and what your weaknesses are, what your strengths are. And then it also takes the genuine willingness to let go of them. Because I think a lot of the time these implants, we think that they're helping us and we think that they're good for us and that they give us some kind of power in some area of our lives, and because that's the nature of them. They make you think that they're needed. They make you think that, oh, well, I need this inside of me because it allows me to do this, or it allows me to make money, or it allows me to, whatever. But being genuinely desirous of that being gone is an absolute requirement.
That is very true. On the screen, we have at the Temple of Hatshepsut one of the Eye of Life crystals that was dropped in Egypt. And we put it in a few places that they will not get messed with. We have several of them. One in the subterranean chamber of the Great Pyramid, one in the Queen's Chamber. There was nowhere in the King's Chamber that we could have put it without it getting messed with. We dropped one in each part of the Nile, and north, south, and central. Mm-hmm. We dropped them at Hatshepsut's obelisk. We dropped them within the walls at the Temple of Karnak, inside of the Temple of Sekhmet, inside of the walls, like we found holes in the walls to where you drop the crystal, it goes all the way down into the wall. Nobody gets it unless they take that wall down. But I need to put a compilation video of where all the Eye of Life crystals are and put it out there for people. And you get one with every order. So they're all kind of energetically connected. I'm trying to get to this part here. Cherie's doing a really good job of not filming my big old fat belly. But that's what I'm looking for, is my big old fat belly. Let's see. Do we have it here somewhere?
Oh,
I don't know. Let's see. Maybe over here.
To portray you in the
No. I appreciate it. I want to make a point though There it is. There's my big old fat belly.
And yes, Michelle, the next site is coming up.
It was bad. It was like I didn't realize how bad it was. And what happened is I started taking ILife regularly. Like seriously, regularly.
Religiously.
I started going to the gym. I just got this energy. And we actually just got a comment on our Facebook page just the other day. Same thing. The guy takes ILife, starts going to the gym, drops a ton of weight. I've dropped a lot of pounds since then. I feel great. I feel energized. It was all that one change that I made in my life, which was ILife. AYALife.com is the website, and we do send out the crystals to everybody. I don't want to spend too much time focusing on ILife, though. People know it, but they don't know that you can actually type in BTV at checkout and get $10 off your order.
Yep, definitely.
Yeah.
Michelle said, isn't the next site coming up soon? I honestly thought the second site should have been activated in super early July.
You know what? It's funny because those were my thoughts too, remember?
Yeah.
I said, Cherie, I think we need to go. I said, I think we have 3 days. And we're like, how the hell are we going to get there in 3 days? And there was one event that took place where we were like about to drop everything and just go. But then we realized, no, it's not the right transit yet.
Right.
But we had that instinct too and that intuition. It's funny you mentioned that because that's exactly what we went through. I swear, I almost dropped everything.
I think that was a trap.
Yeah. It could have been.
I think it was because astrologically, it would have been the wrong time. Yeah, I looked into every aspect of this, and I said, no, wait a second, hold on. Astrologically, this would be disastrous for this reason, this reason, this reason, this reason, and I went down this whole list of reasons, and then I found the real activation point, which we will not divulge. But
yeah,
we do know what we're doing, and we know where it is.
I know the body has to be right.
And the body,
that was the big message. Get your body right. Get your body in order. It's funny we're talking about this because somebody else had brought up the triangle being. He's called it a triple triangle. So I can get into that here in a second, but my body's not quite right yet. It's about halfway to where it needs to be. I'm just surprised, amazed that I've come this far. I'm like looking at myself going, oh my God. Like I was at the gym just straight up killing it earlier. And my trainer was like, hell yeah. She's like, you remember when you couldn't even do any of these? She's like, look, you're doing 30 of them in a row now.
Yep.
I'm like, oh, let's go. I'm getting a little bit of muscles too. I'm like,
yes, he is.
Yeah. They're still babies though.
Rawr.
But the babies they're going to grow. They're going to grow. It takes time. Sherry was like, you didn't get like that. Overnight, so it's not going to come off overnight.
Right,
like,
exactly.
Yeah, no, that's true. But the triangle being. So I had an experience a while back where I encountered this triangle being, and it was beaming time travel schematics, teleportation schematics, all kinds of things like that into my brain, third eye, whatever. And this was like way back in like 2011, 2012, something like that. And we realize this next site probably has something to do with time travel or teleportation or something like that. And it's going to be really, really taxing on the body, which is why the message is get your body right, get your body right, get your body right. And it's amazing because I didn't even make this correlation until after the fact. I was like, oh, well, I already have all the schematics. I already know exactly how to do it, when to do it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's already there. Holy crap. So I don't know. That's what I feel up to this point, but things are subject to change. People are complimenting me in the chat. Thank you very much, Pamela. I've worked hard. And I'm going to continue to work hard because it feels good. I wish I would have done this 10 years ago. But I didn't have ILife 10 years ago.
Right. And I didn't have ILife 10 years ago. And I've never been healthier in my entire life. Radiant.
Great. Yes. Okay, so there were a couple of things I wanted to get into, unless there was anything.
There was one question that Misha brought up. Can anyone tell me if pain is an implant? I believe it is. Ooh. I believe in certain cases, when we have pain, especially if it's pain in an area of the body that's, never really had an injury, that just happens to hurt, that is, especially if it's around a place where the chakras are, then absolutely, that I think to me anyway, that means that there's an implant there that is feeding off of a chakra in your chakra system, and it's being activated to stop you from whatever it is that you're doing to better yourself or to expand your consciousness or what have you. And case in point, I had a place in my neck that ever since I met Chris, it has just hurt. I tried everything to try to get rid of this. I did injections, painkillers, I did, cranial sacral therapy, I did chiropractic therapy. I mean, we spent thousands of dollars, trying to get rid of this pain. And when we were in Egypt, I think what happened was at the Temple of Hatshepsut, something happened during my experience at the Temple of Hatshepsut that I don't know why, but ever since then, that pain in that particular area of my neck is no longer there. And then on top of that, I think clearer. I don't have those horrendous headaches from it anymore. It's almost like a weight has been lifted from that one spot in my neck. And I think that was an implant that was causing so much pain. I mean, it was just incredibly painful. And I no longer have that. And if I hadn't had the experience that I had at the Temple of Hatshepsut, then I would still be having that. And even Chris said the other day, he said, you don't really complain of your neck hurting that much anymore. And I'm like, because it doesn't. It doesn't hurt anymore. It just seems to have disappeared. And I think, you bringing up that question just reminded me that, hey, I think that that's spot on. I think when we feel pain for no reason at all in a certain area of the body, especially if it's close to a chakra area, then that's an implant that our body is trying to tell us, hey, there's something here, it needs to go. And that's a good point. One you need to focus on removing.
That is a good point, because I had these bumps on my head, and that's where Cherie was removing the implants from. Now, these were spiritual implants, but they manifested as bumps in my head. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a very good analysis. Can you control, is it possible to control an astral travel with Salvia divinorum? Because I don't see any other way to use the plants. Love you guys, Raphael. I would say whatever means of travel resonates with you, go for it. A couple years ago, I would have said, well, no, ayahuasca is, this and that, et cetera, et cetera. But knowing what I know now, yeah, whatever you can do to travel. Go for it, man. Salvia, et cetera, et cetera. I don't like salvia. It was like this pulling effect, and like gravity was like pushing down on my brain like this, and was like, ugh. It was kind of cool. Everything turned into like peacock feathers in the back, or I guess peacock feathers with the eyes, kind of like DMT-ish, but it was like a pulling backwards like that. It was so weird. It was very difficult to control. But I say go for it. Now, I was talking to my sister just yesterday, and she is like, hey, I want to try DMT. I was talking to a friend of mine, and, he smoked DMT, and then he saw all these grays, and I want to see grays too, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm like, I don't know. The grays appear in everybody's experiences. They do. They're there for a reason. Mm-hmm. She did know what the grays were about. Obviously, she doesn't listen to the show. Where was I going with this? Oh, what I explained to her was, in my particular journey, because my sister did a lot of stuff with us as a teenager too. Mm-hmm. So she's a psychonaut as well, or was during our rave days back in the day. She's experienced, yeah. But I said, look, this was the progression for me. First I did the psychedelics, meaningless experiences. Then I started working with ayahuasca and DMT, breaking down all the overlays and all the barriers, et cetera, et cetera. Then I went back and revisited LSD, Molly, salvia, et cetera, et cetera. by breaking down the overlays, then going back and revisiting the experiences, then had a completely different meaning. But I don't know if it's possible without breaking down those overlays to get to that point. So I think the DMT is a key element in all of this, to break down those overlays. Then you use a salvia, then you use other things, and then you have much more deeper experiences. Or it could just be the fact that the consciousness has expanded so much that going back and revisiting these have provoked those deeper experiences. So if you're able to break those overlays down through salvia or other methods, then maybe you can get to the same place. Or maybe if it's even just the knowing and awareness that those other places exist, then you have a target to shoot for, then you can break all that down. So I don't know, but I wouldn't discount the DMT and ayahuasca, though. That's
right.
I mean, for me, it was huge. It was pivotal. I wouldn't be even entertaining other stuff had I not gone through the ayahuasca experience first. After all of the, wasted teenage years. I mean, they were really a waste. I think back, I didn't get any gnosis. I didn't get anything. As a matter of fact, after my rave days, I became this business owner, clean cut. Cherie's seen pictures of me and she's like, "Oh my God, that's you." I'm like, "Yeah, that's what I thought life was supposed to progress to." I was running a carpet cleaning and flood restoration business, had a couple of technicians. I was thinking, we'll create a good business, and I'll go to work every day and, sit in an office and do all that. And, it was I wanted to be clean cut because I was working in people's homes and all of that. And I had no idea. So it actually took me backwards rather than taking me into an ascension process as a teenager. But then the ayahuasca broke down all the barriers and brought me here. So take that experience for what it's worth, and everybody's experiences are essentially going to be different.
Hope asked, what are your thoughts on using acacia for removing implants?
I think that's the go-to.
I think that's the go-to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the primary. Even the Egyptians used acacia for ayahuasca. They didn't have anything else. They used the acacia because they revered the acacia tree for multiple reasons. But the main one was that the priesthood, the priest class, the nobility, the royalty, they would use the acacia for healing, for everything spiritual. Almost always involved the acacia tree.
The acacia is very interesting because the acacia is actually like a type of plant. It's not one specific plant. It's a whole spectrum. I mean, there are hundreds, if not thousands, of acacia species. Mimosa hostilis being one of them, found in South America. Acacia confucia being found in Hawaii and in Taiwan. Acacia nilotica being found right on the Amazon. I mean, not the Amazon.
Right on the Nile.
Right on the Nile.
Mm-hmm.
So you have acacia species popping up all over the place. When we were in Egypt, we used the Mimosa hostilis because we needed the most powerful acacia that we can get our hands on.
With the most content.
But the Acacia confucia has NMT in it. Mm-hmm. NMT, working in conjunction with DMT, I think creates more of a feminine, loving aspect that is much more healing.
Yeah.
Mimosa, from what I found, it's travel. You want to go somewhere, you want to access certain points, the mimosa will take you there. The acacia, though, I think for implant removal, because we're talking about healing essentially, I think that's perfect right there. In the Amazon, they use chacruna, which I don't know if chacruna is an acacia species. That's interesting. I've never Googled that. Is chacruna acacia? I don't think it is.
I don't think it is either. No. Chacruna is a vine, isn't it? No, it's a leafy.
It's a leaf.
It's what you're using when you're using chacruna. You're using the actual leaves.
Yeah.
And the reason why I personally don't suggest using chacruna unless you're in the Amazon and you're cutting it down yourself that same day and brewing it that same day is because one, the alkaloid content it varies throughout the day. Like the time of day that you cut it down, determines how much DMT is actually in the chacruna.
You know, the
And-
chacruna contains NMT though. I think it contains almost a 1-to-1 ratio of DMT to
interesting.
NMT, just like
Interesting.
the Acacia confucia.
Oh, that's interesting.
The
I didn't know
difference is,
that.
though, as you said, it depends on the time you cut it down. It depends on the age of the plant. It depends on all of that.
It breaks down quickly.
And it has
too.
about 0.3% DMT in it.
Right.
So you have to use a lot more leaf.
A lot more.
Hope that the leaf is good. And try to brew this up, which in the Amazon,
Right.
it's not a problem because you just go out to the forest, cut down as much as you want, throw it in a pot, and that's it.
Right, exactly. But if you're trying to use it, somewhere else, and even during shipping, it's going to break down that DMT even further. Then, when you're working with it, you have to work with so much of it that it's next to impossible to get the same dose that you would get with the Acacia confusa that is has a certain amount of DMT in it. As long as you're using the root bark, what's in there. And I highly recommend knowing how much DMT you're ingesting whenever you make ayahuasca.
Now that I'm
That's
thinking
really
about
important.
it, for a first time experience, if you can access them, mushrooms may be a go-to there because you can take a small dose, 1 or 2 grams. You know that there's not very much preparation involved, so you don't have to know how to brew them. You don't have to do anything like that. Psilocybin is 1 molecule away from DMT. Very, very, very similar. The experiences are less serious. With DMT, it seems to be more serious. Like you're sitting down and you're meditating. You're like, all right, it's like being in class. Psilocybin is silly cybin. That's what we used to call it as teenagers.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of laughing, and it's more social as well.
Right.
So you may want to, just for anybody out there that is interested in these experiences, explore that route as well.
First, yeah.
And then that gets your feet in the water. And then, high levels of psilocybin, there's something to be said about that. Don't get me wrong.
Oh, yeah.
But these are like mass doses of psilocybin. The downside of psilocybin is that it lasts, I don't know, a good 4 or 5 hours in very, very high doses. It could last 8 hours, 9 hours, etc.
That's a little bit
And
too
a lot of
long.
times it comes in waves. So
Yeah.
it hits you, boom, you're on your ass, and then you're like coming down and you're like, okay, well I'm
it's-
back. And then boom, you're on your ass
All right,
again.
I'm gone
and you
again.
don't really know how long it's going to be
Right.
until you're back.
Same with LSD.
Yeah.
A little bit too long.
DMT, especially in the smoked form, boom, blast off, up,
10, 15
you're back.
minutes. Yep.
Quick. Drinking ayahuasca, incline up, soft, down.
Soft landing.
You're like, okay.
Yeah.
So anyways, the different plants though, the Acacia confucia is, it seems to be the most readily available and also one of the strongest as well.
Right.
So,
right.
Yeah. I'd like to go down to the Amazon sometime and find a real shaman, not a gringo that went down there and opened up a
retreat. Yeah.
but a real shaman and
Right.
say, here, this is our brew. Try this. I'd like to get
I would
his
like to get
feedback
their
on it.
opinion. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would too. Peyote. Now, I've never tried peyote. I think that peyote it's a good tool. From what I've researched about it, from what I've heard about it, it's a good tool, but it would last too long for me anyway. That I enjoy DMT and ayahuasca because of the length of the experience. It's enough to get what I need from it, and then be able to come down, experience the afterglow, remember these experiences, and do all of the work afterwards, whether it's live streaming or whether it's writing about what I've experienced, and then I can sleep. With peyote, you're talking about 8, 12.
Now it can
sometimes
go
even
18
longer,
to 24 hours.
18 to 24 hours.
But it's not 24 hours
Of
in
intense.
states.
Right.
It just, some of these things, like LSD too, it lingers.
It lingers.
And it's
yeah.
like, okay, I've already gone through the peak. I've seen what I need to see. Now I'm sitting around going, oh man, I'm ready to go to sleep. As a kid, it was different because we'd walk around, we'd go to the museum, we'd go to the butterfly museum, we'd do stuff like that and be like, oh, cool, tracers.
Right.
But it's not about tracers anymore.
No.
So the 6 hours or 8 hours of lingering afterwards, it's like...
Yeah, it's unwelcome.
Yeah, it's like, okay, I'm already done with you. Just go away.
Right.
I'll come back and see you later.
Exactly.
The ayahuasca takes you, brings you back, then you're back to base again. I mean, you feel an afterglow, but it's not it doesn't linger. Right. And then you can eat afterwards too. That's what I really like about it.
I appreciate that too because, I have an incredibly high metabolism. If I don't eat for a day, I lose about 2 pounds. And that's, extremely, extremely fast metabolism. And so when we do ayahuasca, it usually lasts 2 to 3 hours for me. Whereas for Chris, it usually lasts 3 to 5. And so it's, if I did peyote, and even if it, only lasted 12 hours, if I couldn't eat afterwards, that could be harmful to my body, blood sugar wise. So it's important to me to be able to eat after these experiences because of the blood sugar thing. So I do agree with Chris that
I got shit to do.
Right, we've got crap.
We got too much shit to do.
We've got way too much shit to do to spend that much time in the astral.
I want to redo the candy flipping experience, but I don't want to go through those 10 hours afterwards. Where I was like, I can't sleep.
Yeah. I do agree with Chris with the first time. If somebody's not very familiar with the psychedelic experience, I do recommend. What Chris said with doing the mushrooms first, getting your feet wet, getting in touch with that serotonin-based psychedelic experience first, because ayahuasca is very powerful. It is very serious. It is a very profound experience that is so serious that you kind of miss out on the beauty of it if you haven't already had the experience with the mushrooms introducing you to the playfulness aspect of these spirits. And I remember when I used mushrooms for the first time, I'd already had several DMT and ayahuasca experiences under my belt before I did the mushrooms, but I was surprised, that there was so much playfulness with this. That I at the time I was going through I was having a difficult time at that particular time in my life with people that I had betrayed me, or betrayed me and Chris, and that I hated them, and I had so much anger inside of me about them. And in this experience with mushrooms, I saw them on a baloney raft on this river, this pink river of goo. And they were, floundering around, on this baloney raft. And it was so funny that it made me laugh. And then after that experience, I came out of it thinking, you know what, I've been taking this all so seriously that I've forgotten the joy of life. I've forgotten how wonderful life is and how silly it is to obsess or to worry too much about other people and what they've done to me and all this. That it shouldn't take up so much of my consciousness that I forget how to experience joy. And so that's why I agree. I think mushrooms first, and then move on to the more serious.
Well, what
DMT
you said
and
is
ayahuasca.
really profound, because you're talking about the way the healing manifests.
Yeah.
And when somebody's injured you, it festers inside, but then you can release it in these different ways in these experiences. And each experience and release is going to be different. Each way that things are healing is going to be different. For me, for example, I healed from my traumas by picking up a sword and cutting the tether of the box that I was tethered to. But what was happening, I think, on a physiological level and also on a spiritual level, is that things were changing within the brain. Different brain waves, or the neural pathways, that's what I'm looking for. Neural pathways were reforming themselves. So with yours, it was humor, that now you view that energy and it's shifted it into a humorous type of way now.
Right.
So it's balanced the energy out. With me, it was the disconnection of the energy. So the neural pathways now don't have a connection to that harm or to that trauma or to any of that, which is remarkable how these substances work upon the human body and also upon the consciousness.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
So, you guys and gals have asked some awesome questions.
You really have.
I feel like we need to wrap it up, though. I had a couple of things I wanted to go over, but I will save them, like the chakra disconnection and all of that. I will save them for the next broadcast, but I just want to thank everybody for bringing such a positive energy, for creating such a wonderful sacred space here at Beyond the Veil, and for all of the awesome interaction and love and all of that. That's what it's all about right now. It's about the love. It's about the positive energy and disconnecting and detaching from the negative and being raw consciousness. Anything you want to leave the audience with, or are there any more questions you feel we should get to?
No, not really. I think we've covered everything that we need to cover today. And whatever we didn't is definitely going to be saved for the next broadcast. And we love you guys so much. And, I have to say, before the show started, I was at a little bit of a low frequency. Now I'm way up there and feeling so much better. So thank you to everyone out there for joining us today, because without you, that would not have been possible.
Well, you've seen, because you see what goes on behind the scenes. When I'm feeling shitty, I turn the stream on.
Yeah.
And I feel better afterwards.
Yeah.
That's
every time.
Just the energy that is created here at Beyond the Veil. So kiss the one you love right now. You never know the last time it's going to be, and we will see you even further.
Beyond the Veil.